Put time on your side. With Sprint, it's just a dime, anytime. Don't wait.
Time is on my side.
Call now, 1-800-913-9720.
Now your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
But we're not through yet. You'll get Stain Ender, the miracle remover that blasts away stains. It's a $20 value, and it's yours free when you order Static Duster. Here's how to order.
To order Static Duster for only $14.95 plus shipping, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-474-1551 or send check or money order to the address on your screen. Sorry, no CODs.
Here's to the weekend warrior in all of us, pushing our bodies beyond the norm. Mercifully, there's an advanced medicine called Advil. When the pain sets in, and it will, Advil works fast, right at the site of muscle pain, stopping it where it starts. Muscle aches to headaches, Advil relieves all kinds of pain. Advil simply lets people do what they love to do.
Now your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Introducing the only compact import truck with 4 doors. The all-new Mazda B-Series Cab Plus 4. V6 power. Whoa.
Yeah.
4 doors.
Now your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
many of the world's most beloved artists. Here's how to order. Call toll-free now for Opera's Golden Moments. 3 cassettes, $24.98. 3 CDs, $29.98. Call now.
Now your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Profile. Call toll-free 1-888-715-4400 to answer a few simple questions. And you'll receive a customized profile with personalized facts to help you deal better and feel better. Call now for your free personal allergy profile and help defend yourself against seasonal allergy attacks.
Bye-bye now.
Now your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Flooding are causing problems across parts of the country. We'll detail that coming up as we take a look at the stormy weather across the U.S. But first, let's turn our attention to the tropics. Here's Dr. Steve Lyons with our tropical updates.
Well, thanks, Dan. We've got a rapidly changing tropical weather pattern across the Atlantic, but nothing that's really dangerous right now. Let's have a look at the Gulf of Mexico. Here we are. We see a lot of thunderstorm activity over here. This is sort of unusual for surface high pressure, but we have an upper level low pressure center, or a trough of low pressure, and that's producing some unstable air, and that's pushing thunderstorms onto the coast and also producing some thunderstorms out over the Gulf. None of this, of course, is expected to develop into anything. It's all straight line wind, and the winds are very light at the ground. Matter of fact, there's an interesting feature we'll show in just a minute. Notice how the southeastern portion of Florida is clearing out very nicely the last 6 to 12 hours here, and we'll see that a little bit better as we've moved further south. Here in the Caribbean, we have a very elongated area of thunderstorms and showers. This has evolved very dramatically over the last 6 to 12 hours, and basically what we've seen is a surge in the east-northeast trade winds up here out of the subtropics coming south. As a matter of fact, you can see a little bit of whitish in here. That's associated with some African dust that's blown across in this surge, and it's affecting the Florida Peninsula now. But this northeasterly flow is converging with some southeasterly deep tropical flow here. So we have a convergence line all the way across the northern Caribbean Sea, and that's producing a large area of thunderstorm activity. This is not organizing into any tropical cyclone circulation at all. It's a linear system, but this moisture should continue on up toward the Yucatan Peninsula in the next 24 to 36 hours or so. But with this surge of subtropical air, it's more stable, and notice the islands, not near as much thunderstorm activity as we had yesterday, and that surge is coming all the way over into the Miami and the Keys this afternoon. So it's clearing the weather out there. Now, as we go farther out into the Atlantic, we've been looking at a low pressure center out here. That low has weakened the last 6 hours, and we're now finding trouble finding a low pressure center. It's more a trough of low pressure rather than a low pressure center, still drifting to the west slowly. Here's that swirl in our stratocumulus field, a few isolated thunderstorms with it. The upper layers and the mid layers over here are fairly dry. So this system is going to have a hard time doing anything in the next 24 to 36 hours. We'll have to watch it, though, as it comes into the more unstable Caribbean the next 36 hours or so. Now, we've been watching a lot of thunderstorm activity off the coast of Africa. We see another big batch of them coming off the coast, pushing to the west, and the flow is very, very fast. In other words, it's unusually fast, and that's why the pattern is evolving so quickly. We can see why it's so fast. If we look at our upper level winds here, we see a ridge of high pressure, and to the south of it, we've got some deep easterly flow here. Easterly meaning blowing from east to west, and in that it's pushing all of this to the west very quickly. In the mid-Atlantic, we notice a trough of low pressure here that we didn't have before, and that's breaking up and interfering with that weak low pressure system we had at the surface. But notice here, that demarcation between the northeast flow of dry air and the southeast flow of moist air is also showing aloft, where we've got northerly flow out of the mid-latitudes here, whereas here we have southeasterly and easterly flow out of the tropics. So that line separates all the tropical air and the thunderstorms from the more stable, clear mid-latitude air. Well, this time of year we don't expect too much, and if we look at our tropical cyclone frequency distribution, we're still down here in July. We have about 10 times as many tropical cyclones that will occur in the heart of the hurricane season as they do now. So we're not expecting, we shouldn't expect that many to form now. So this is a good time to prepare in the calm. Now, out in the Pacific, we've been looking at a couple systems, one here and one out here about 500 miles south of Baja California. This one could form into a tropical depression the next 24 hours or so, but both of them moving off to the west, well away from land. So we're in good shape there. We don't expect any problems with land. It would only be a marine problem if we do get development. Well, let's go back to Dan and see what he's got going on across the country with severe weather and flooding.
And Steve, thanks very much. We take a look at the current U.S. map, and you can find a frontal system stretching from the lower Great Lakes back into the Central Plains. That's the southern boundary of somewhat cooler but primarily drier, more stable Canadian air, making its way slowly down through the north central portion of the country. And as it does so, along and ahead of that frontal system, look out for more showers and thunderstorms. We've seen them quite active today across central Illinois, where a number of counties, including Mason and Schuyler counties, have had some trees and power lines brought down, and it has not been uncommon for winds to be gusting up to about 60 miles per hour. Here's a look at the area where there could be some severe thunderstorms through the Central Plains back into the Ohio Valley. Also potentially some strong thunderstorms over much of the southeast as well as the southwest. There is in fact a severe thunderstorm warning in effect, a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for a major part of central Illinois and east central portions of, or central Indiana, I should say, and east central portions of Illinois. Severe thunderstorms have weakened as they moved out of Illinois, but still packing quite a punch.
We're monitoring and tracking severe weather in the Midwest. Find out where it is right now and where it's headed just ahead on Weather Center after your local forecast.
Hey, pull me back. Oh, that feels pretty good. What's this stuff? I'm not going there. No way. Forget about it. Hey, come on. I got an image up over there.
If you want the best, come to your Sherwin-Williams store. It's the only place to get Sherwin.
Hey, that guy looks like Clyde Drexler.
Nah, too small.
Introducing Denny's Big Burgers. They're so big, they might give some people a complex.
I must say you do look smaller in person.
Now your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Severe storms are moving into the Indianapolis area at this hour. Hello and welcome to Weather Center. I'm Janetta Jones. For the latest conditions in that region, let's join Bill Keneally in the Forecast Center.
All right, Janetta, again, we are watching that Indianapolis area real carefully right now. The good news for Chicago is I think all the worst of it's going to set up south of you overnight, and better news tomorrow as drier air is on the way. That should lead to a couple of stellar days in the Windy City coming up on probably Friday as well as Saturday. But again, first and foremost, the activity around greater Indianapolis. Let's take you there on the radar now. Check out that rain moving on through right over the city, so right over the towns of Speedway and up around Carmel and running northeast of town too, so I'd watch out around the Kokomo-Muncie area. There's going to be heavy rain. And even though it doesn't look that harrowing on the radar, you got to remember this area has had a lot of rain of late. Last night up around Huntington County had reports of 6 to 7 inches of rainfall, and there's more rain coming at you, I'm afraid. So the big threat will be some flooded roadways, possibly I-69, also the possibility of some small hail, gusty wind at the onset, and obviously some heavy rain. Severe thunderstorm watches over a good chunk of Indiana and eastern Illinois on the Wabash River, so anywhere around, say, Terre Haute, Indiana, also into Indianapolis, and from Greensburg all the way to Fort Wayne. Be on your guard. That watch goes till 8 o'clock tonight. Checking out the picture of the maps now, the roadways impacted. Interstate 70 is one road I would watch out of Pittsburgh through Columbus, Indianapolis, back to St. Louis, back to KC, and all the way west. You get the picture there, all the way to about Lyman, Colorado. That is probably the roadway we're going to have to worry about overnight tonight. Frontal zone is stationary for now. There's a big push of cool Canadian high pressure, though. And I'd say by tomorrow at this time, that front ought to be sitting probably in this fashion. So it's making headway. The main thrust of that cooler air, though, is going to be eastward and the drier air. So I think it's going to more or less tease you guys in KC as well as the St. Louis Metro. There's your radar picture at this hour. And remember, we talked about Indianapolis, so I want to talk about the eastward extent of this over in Virginia. Then we'll talk about the impact on Chicago as well as Metro St. Louis. First stop, inner Virginia, and in Virginia, I want to remind everybody in Westmoreland County and Powhatan counties, we have warnings. Westmoreland County over in this area, watch out around Colonial Beach, and Powhatan County as well around the town of Powhatan. We've had reports of trees down and power out along Highway 60. Chicagoland, the worst of it on the south side. Travelers on the Indiana Toll Road, however, watch out around South Bend and around St. Louis, looking east of Granite City, and then southward down around the South Plains area. Warnings in effect for Ripley County, both a flash flood and a severe thunderstorm warning. Southeastern picture, the rain heaviest earlier in Atlanta. Still rain around Jacksonville and still rain around the greater New Orleans area. The Big Easy getting some welcome rainfall today around the city. Remember how dry it was all of June, all of July, into the first half of July at least, but we're finally getting the tropical air in place. There's your picture of the Big Easy, and there's your French Quarter. That was briefly very heavy rain. It wasn't a whole lot. I'm looking at all the airport reports there of about, a tenth of an inch of rain. But I'd say that was more down in the quarter. So if you were out and about around the lunchtime hour, hopefully you had what these guys had to ward off the wetness. Let's come back and talk about the western states. Wetness abounding. A lot of really tropical air. Dew points around 70. That's really sticky air in Phoenix, Arizona. The Gulf of California, all that juicy air coming northbound now. Flood watch is up as we are girding ourselves for maybe more flooding in Vegas as well as in Phoenix over the course of the evening hours. Quick check on the satellite picture. You can see the trajectory of that moisture coming up from western Mexico and that Gulf of California. There's a big picture. I want to focus on one radar now, taking into the greater Phoenix area. And note the rain. Thankfully, it's out of the city earlier. 1 inch of rain in 1 hour's time. That's pretty impressive stuff. And needless to say, we had a lot of flooding around I-17 right there by the Sky Harbor Airport. Still some rain north of Tucson around Safford. More rain in the Mogollon Rim and more rain west of Prescott. And we just got a report of a little flooding going on now around the Lake Havasu City area near the Parker Dam. So Phoenix, I think the worst of it over with for the daytime today, but I would watch out heading west along the Colorado River. The other aspect, obviously, this torrid July heat wave. And for all the gory details on that, let's turn it back to Janetta.
All right, thanks, Bill. The dangerous heat continued in several parts of the country today. Many areas reached heat indices of over 100 degrees. Searing heat baked the Big Apple today. As the sign says, New York's weather was sunny, hazy, hot, and humid this afternoon. Temperatures ranged from the 90s to near 100. Thundershowers are possible later, but you won't get any relief from the heat until probably this weekend. So let's check it out. Current readings in the 90s in New York City, about 89 in Philly and Boston, but the heat index is still over 90. It's 97 in Boston last time I checked. So it's feeling really muggy and very, very oppressive. This is the front that will finally move on through and bring us some relief, but we are going to have to wait a while for that relief, probably until Saturday. Friday you'll start to feel some relief. It will be even better on Saturday as the front clears through all the way. So a hot one out ahead of that front. Back behind the front, we have the cooler, drier conditions. That's one of the reasons we're getting the severe weather, that clash in the two air masses, if you will. Temperature right now in Minneapolis in the 70s. Not bad at all. 76 in Fargo, about 76 in Chicagoland. However, south of the front, we're talking about 96 degrees in St. Louis. A hot one across the southeast, 92 in Charleston, 100 in Dallas. You know, today is the 17th day in a row that Dallas has hit 100 degrees or hotter. And the streak is continuing. Ugh. What a distinction, right? You factor in the humidity and it feels like 105 in the Big D. It feels like 100 in Birmingham and it feels like 102 in Charleston. So a very hot, steamy night across many areas of the South. In the West, it has been a hot one here as well. 96 in Boise, 94 in Spokane. Not quite as bad in Phoenix. We've had some showers and some clouds keeping temperatures down a bit. 94 for you right now in Las Vegas, which is a far cry from the 116-degree reading you were seeing last week at this time. So, again, a very hot day in both of these areas. And tomorrow, your heat index forecast is going to be dangerously high in the same two areas. So we're waiting for that front to move through the northeast to give us some welcome relief. Doesn't look like it's going to happen for you tomorrow. But you will have to deal with the front tomorrow. It's going to be very hot, very humid out ahead of the front. As that colder air comes into play, you'll see that clash in the two air masses. So yes, we will see an increase in showers and thunder showers along this frontal boundary. Even for tomorrow morning's rush hour commute, Denver, Wichita, could see some problems back towards Nashville, Tennessee, Cleveland, and Buffalo. Not a problem, though, for New York City, Philadelphia, Boston, or even into Washington, D.C. Now, by tomorrow evening, as that front slips a little more to the south, we'll see that possibility of a problem for your rush hour commute, and actually reaching all the way down into the Ohio Valley and all the way westward into Denver, Colorado. Okay? And actually, you may even see an increase in the showers and